So Ghana and I currently are recording in the same room, which is kind of cool in a way, but in another way, it's kind of just it's it hurts the brain because you hear one thing, uh, and then 2 minutes later, I hear it coming out of my headphones because there's that delay. It's echoing Gondas, and it's kind of annoying.
Not only do you get one Ganda, but you get two for the price of one. Sounds like a deal to me.
Not
Order
really.
now to get a third gunner for free.
Just pay processing and handling.
Well, it's like that episode of Red Dwarf, Me Too. It's like that, except for substitute Michael in Rimmer's place, and it's exactly like that. I'm just waiting for one of the voices to self-destruct and try and kill the other.
I don't remember that one. That's kind of embarrassing.
Well, the exact self-destructing and trying to kill each other didn't quite happen, but
Okay, we already need sheep.
So I'm really regretting this lapse of judgment here. So typically when you're creating one of these tree farms, for those of you who don't know my style of tree farm, you start off with some place either flat or easy to level. You don't typically level out a whole mountain. I had not thought of this prior to taking this endeavor, and I'm going to probably be here for a while now. Just me and my shovel and dirt.
Hey, Peent.
Yo, what's up?
I think. Oh my god! I can't seriously. You don't have any dirt at all.
No, but aren't we making the floor out of brick anyway? Or out of cobblestone? So doesn't technically all this need to be dug up anyway?
No.
You don't have any dirt at all. You couldn't ask Actatus, who's got 5 stacks now. There's no dirt at all.
I got tons of dirt.
Peent, come over and look at this.
Hang on, I think Actatus pooped out an experience point. I gotta grab it here.
Oh my god, Actatus he's invisible to me again.
I can see him.
Look, you can?
Yeah. What? It's Tetris. Dude, twist the L the other way. Okay, so I've got some insulation already, which is good. I can start working on a creeper on top of the house.
So what I think I'm going to do is actually turn this house into half sleeping quarters and half storage, because it's actually a lot larger than I originally meant it to be. Does that sound okay?
Sounds good to me. So, and I just remembered this, and you guys are gonna hate me for bringing this back up. So speaking of Scarlet Blade, going back to how addicting this game is, I've actually stopped logging on to Trimmer Games lately to get Chantilly's. I've effectively given up Chantilly's for this game, which is something I never thought I would do.
That's pretty serious.
That's very serious, considering how much I've been wanting this game. For those of you who don't know, Chantilly's, which I could very well be mispronouncing, is the first game by the same guys who made Racketeer, which I realize is going to be meaningless to those of you who don't know what Racketeer is. However, I'm pretty sure that Smegged's heard me talk about this more than enough.
Yeah, I actually have a copy of it.
Yeah, so Smegghed, you want to try talking about Racketeer from your viewpoint real quick?
I'm not going to do it justice, but from what I remember, the little bit I played of it is basically you're a shop owner who I guess inherits the shop, and the shop's in debt, and you have to build the shop up, and I believe you go dungeoning to get that stuff to build it up. Am I right in that?
That's actually very, very accurate, yeah.
And you're trying to basically get the shop out of debt by doing so.
Exactly, and I've actually beat the original story mode of the game, and I don't cry ever, but that ending nearly had me in tears, which was terrible.
I'm trying to remember the last time I saw you cry. I think you were 4 years old and I spanked you.
Yeah, that would have to be it, because that was right about when I think one of my friends had said that boys don't cry once, and that just threw me all kinds of off.
That's very sexist.
That's very sexist, but he was a very sexist guy. He's also very pro-military. Um, had us playing Lego Army quite often, where they had this giant pit of Legos at the daycare center, and we would like have to reenact military battles with them.
These days, everybody is so sensitive about that, and they probably won't let you do that. They'd probably yell at you.
Oh no, they yelled at us plenty. Also, we couldn't bring in our Transformers that had projectiles because it would be too violent, and we might poke somebody's eye out. But mostly being too violent. Which is too bad, because you gotta remember, this was early 2000s, sort of deal where, like, everything had projectiles.
Yeah, they had the big craze. Everything, even like lasers, were basically looked like missiles.
Exactly. And, like, any McDonald's toy that you got was guaranteed to have some sort of projectile in it.
Right.
Well, and I'll tell you what's interesting about that. Not that I want to get into politics at all, but like my generation was big on like joining the military and the army because they all wanted to be like frickin' GI Joe, man. They wanted to be the dude up in the bushes or like in that plant in mom's kitchen, like shooting the bazooka down at the little guy with the pistol, the little commander guy set up on the linoleum floor with the pistol. And now it's like nobody wants to do that anymore. You know what I mean?
I think it's again, not to get too terribly political, but I think it's the world we live in. It's not fantasy anymore.
That's very much true. I mean, this kid, when he was really getting big into army, was, during that period, like late 90s sort of deal to early 2000s, like just before we actually like started getting involved in all that stuff,
Well, there was still, even with some kind of with the Gulf War in the early 90s, there was still an issue. There was a bit of, I think that was a turning point, but it was still a bit fantastical when you thought about war. There were heroes and there were bad guys, even thinking back to like World War II, I mean, kids ran out and played war. I mean, when I grew up, we played war all the time. Now, I think with today's like news coverage and just the kind of the things that are going on, it's become so much more real that now it's horrible to do that.
Yeah, I can see that. Of course, speaking of violence and all that stuff, so back when I was a kid, they had the Buzz Lightyear animated TV series. If Gonda's still on, he can attest to this fact. It was like Buzz Lightyear and Space Command or something. It was interesting, to say the least. Well, we used to play Buzz Lightyear with our cousin. She would play like whoever the girl character in that was, and I guess Mike would play Buzz Lightyear, and I'd be whoever the hell else there was. And our cousin's mom once heard us. I was of course very sciencey then, and one of the bad guys blew a hole in the space station. And of course, when you have a hole in a space object like that had an atmosphere inside, shit's gonna get sucked out. And one of the characters got sucked out of it, and we kept saying that she was dead. She wasn't actually dead. She was just not with us. Of course, that didn't fly so well, and we got yelled at for one of our characters dying.
Oh yeah.
Weird to me as a kid, because I always thought, I was always like, well, yeah, that's gonna happen. People die. But I guess that it was one of those deals where the person didn't want the kid to ever realize that or something. It was a bit bizarre.
As opposed to me when I was in, like, I guess it was daycare. I guess it was after school, but it was kindergarten, first grade. But we were always playing, Star Wars, because Star Wars was big back then, and we were reenacting scenes. And I remember we were doing the scene in the hallway outside of the, the prison block. and they're in the hallway getting shot at before they go out into the garbage compactor.
Oh yeah, I
And I
remember that
remember, for some reason, I remember yelling at somebody, "He's the brain, sweetheart!" And like one of the daycare workers yelled at me for that.
scene. Oh, that's
And
great.
you guys are getting yelled at for basically dying. That's how times change.
Yeah. Although speaking of Star Wars, I remember actually seeing the first Star Wars with you or not the first Star Wars, but Star Wars Episode 1 with you in theaters actually.
We watched Star Wars Episode 1 on opening day at the first showing. I remember that. Like, and I want to say your mom got us tickets to it. Like,
Yeah, man,
I
that
was
was
coming.
great.
I think I was driving there specifically to see it, and she got basically the tickets while I was on the road, which was amazing. And we actually sat up in front, if I remember right, when we saw that.
Yeah, that sort of fits what I've got in my head right now.
Yeah, actually I remember. I think my most favorite part of that to this day is the very first time Yoda popped up on the screen. You flipped out. You were so excited that Yoda was up on the screen because we'd watched you know the original movies together like 1,000 times. So when Yoda actually appeared on this giant screen, you freaked out, and you couldn't have been more than, I don't know, like not even 5 or 6. We're talking
Uh,
like 4 years old or something like that, right?
yeah, I remember it came out in '99 according to IMDb, which I checked just the other day because I've been rewatching the saga lately.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, you would have been 4 then. But yeah, that was great. That was good fun. And actually, you know what? I want to say that I can't guarantee it definitely wasn't the first showing, and I can't guarantee it was the first day. But we saw each one of those Star Wars together.
Yep, because I
I think
remember
episode
having
2 you and I saw, and then episode 3, me, you, and Ganda went and saw it all 3 together, and that was kind of fun because he hadn't gone with us before.
yeah, and I mean I remember number 3 very well because I kept getting that threatened to be taken away for lightsaber fighting with Michael or with Gonda in the stores.
Yeah.
I wonder what kids played today. Because I mean, I know Star Wars isn't as big as it was back then. Today, I mean, they've got like the animated series and everything, and the new movies are coming out, which I'm sure is going to bring in, especially since it's done by Disney, a whole wave of the younger generation, which is probably going to mean more Jar Jar Binks like characters. But I mean, I wonder what kids today might play. I mean, do kids today play? Do they just kind of lays about
I don't
in
know
a
how much
daze?
kids actually play anymore because everybody's got like little kids have cell phones now. You know what I mean? I don't know how much they actually play.
I mean, I remember picking up my sister from like kindergarten, and there was a first grader that came by talking about her Facebook page. I mean, it's a bizarre world now.
Yeah, exactly. I forgot about that.
And I mean, to be fair, I was playing games at a young age, but I mean, we didn't have like these social media sites like like Facebook and stuff. We didn't have those on a computer, or at least not to the same extent. I mean, we had like chat rooms and stuff, but
I remember back when going into a chat room and going into an IRC channel.
IRC, yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you, like, one of my fondest memories was I went over to Smegg's house one night, and he was on the computer in an IRC channel, and I hear this, whoop, ooh, and I was like, what the heck? And it's like he was commanding, like he had a bunch of .wave files, and like that was a big deal, was being able to type, I don't even remember what the command was. It was like /p space whip.wave, and it would like play a whip in channel for anybody that had the wave. It was
You could put in a text command, and if anybody that had that would catch it. I forgot about that. That was a big deal back then. I was actually just thinking the other day about the fact that it was such a huge deal because that when I was messing around with IRC back in the day, that's back when like MP3s first started, and it used to take like a half hour, 45 minutes to download one MP3. it's just bizarre to look back and think, oh my god, like that was really a thing back then.
Well, and I mean, speaking of those speeds, I mean, these days I would get just absolutely pissed if I had that speed. You know, if
Oh
it took me
yeah,
that long to download just an MP3. I mean, now
yeah,
it's like, wow, my 500 megabyte file's not done downloading within 10 minutes. What the hell's going on here?
well, the reason that I was thinking about that is we were watching something. It might have been Skyfall on Vudu, and I started, for some reason, my brain that never shuts off, like went back to the fact that, my God, like we stream high definition movies and watch them. We stream them over the internet. And back then, 95, 96, like we would spend 45 minutes to get a single song. It's amazing to me. God, that really makes me sound old. Thanks a lot, man.
No problem, dude.
Then you look at, I remember you had a copy of the Star Wars Empire at War Gold Pack, which wasn't released that long ago. And that was on, 2-3 discs, right? And I mean, these days, you could fit all that into one. I mean, that just shows just how far our storage capabilities are. I've got a 2 terabyte hard drive just kind of laying here on my desk like it's, nothing. Although it's not, because I've got so much on there that I would hate to lose, but...
Well, yeah, but I mean, think about what you just said. You have a 2 terabyte hard drive laying around. I mean, think about the amount of space that is.
Actually, for reference, I've got a 2 terabyte hard drive that I've only got 100 gigs left on. I mean, that's massive these days. I mean, especially considering, like back when I was a kid, I remember my mom had a laptop that had all of like 20 gigs on it.
20
and
gigs?
We were happy about that, man. We were like, oh wow, this is amazing.
And that's crazy to me because I'm going to plug a movie here, and Jay's going to cringe a little bit because while the movie was great, it painted hacking in a much funner light. But hackers, like, I mean, I remember that though. Like, I remember 128-bit colors, or
Oh, it was like they were like, what was it, like 100 and like, oh god, what was it, 56K or 56 baud modem, or I was like, oh my god, oh, I hate that movie.